Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robyn LaVassaur. They say our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild with Robyn LaVassaur. Ooh, I love the title of this one, but it always gets a little uncomfortable. So if you're a loan officer, this is certainly for you, but there will be tons of information in this podcast today. I hope that you not only find useful, but applies in general to anything sales related. And that is, do not discount, dominate, and give yourself that power. And what I would say to you is that in order to do that, diligence and details matter. I'll stay on that little D theme, right? If you're discounting too much, if you're losing people to shopping, if you're getting blindsided by shoppers, I'll give you basic statistics that let you a little off the hook, and we can say, hey, chalk it up to the third theory that takes place. So a third of clients are going to shop you. A third of clients are going to love you and use you. And a third of clients are not going to qualify or never take any action. So if you know that, there's an equation on leads, which is an entirely different podcast. This is about, I cannot tell you how many times I see a loan officer getting a ton of work done on a deal, working with the clients, maybe for a year, maybe for 2, maybe for 6 months, maybe for a few hours. Maybe they came in on a Saturday and got the pre-approval and helped with this and helped with that. And then all of a sudden they're getting shopped. And so let's be honest with ourselves about the fact that our consumers have data at their fingertips. That AI/all things tech related have made it easier for consumer direct to actually have more domination in our market, which means, what is consumer direct touting? It's not service, it's not relationship, it's not strategy, it's price. The problem is, if we know that they're in that category, that's their strength, if you will, you have to have a strategy around it. You can't try to join them and have everything that you offer, but then only try to match their price. It doesn't work that way. And I think emotionally, we feel like it should. Emotionally, we feel like we need to go there. We do not. And so I want to go through a few things. First of all, look at your process. And let's take a minute and really think about that, because our heavier shoppers are generally well-qualified borrowers that ultimately say, hey, I want something cheaper potentially. And what they really, the truth is, there is something that is probably more valuable to them, but you have not yet given it to them. And I say that because I want you to feel more powerful in these situations versus reactionary and powerless. And I see it time and time again. Now, it gets very sensitive to loan officers when they're right in the midst of a battle on a loan and they're getting shopped, and their manager, leader, coach, somebody says, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you do this? And in the moment is all you're thinking about is deal, paycheck. But the problem with that is, if you're not willing to open yourself up to analyze, hey, think of every transaction, every relationship, every opportunity to work a lead and turn it into a transaction that becomes a closing. That's a game that you are playing. It's like a game of horse, a game of pig in basketball. It's like, you're up to the plate. It's your 9 innings of baseball, if you will. You're on the football field. Doesn't matter. Think of whether it's a sports analogy or what. You're playing a game in that moment. And that game might require a different strategy, different tools, depending on what field you're on and who your opponent is. And so your opponent is not necessarily the client, but it's everybody else trying to grab hold of that client. So you have to have strategy/service around it. So how do you increase your odds? And I think this is the tough conversation, because what I hear constantly, and I have the privilege and honor of not only running our company nationally in sales, but also working individually with loan officers in our branch. And I can tell you time and time again, the emotions have taken over the strategy. And that cannot happen for you to win. It also can't happen for you to have future wins. You might have lost that game, But if you're losing that game over and over and over again, you're the one that you can control, right? You're the one that you can make adjustments to then bring yourself more wins. And so how do we do it? One, you have to have a process. And when I say a process, everything from a lead intake process, a great follow-up process, a pre-approval check-in process, in addition to a disclosure call, which is a huge miss for so many people. It's like, oh, you're in contract. Boop, here's all your stuff. Disclosures are in your email. Go ahead and sign. And then they're like, I'm getting shopped. Well, did you get on the phone and talk through the disclosures? Did you reassess now that you are making an offer and in contract on a home? Did all the things we talked about maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 days ago, maybe 2 months ago, maybe 2 years ago still apply to this new house, this new scenario? And I want to pause for a minute and talk directly compensation with a loan officer. Psychologically, let's say every loan officer, and I'm going to use a generic number, and let's say that you are making a percentage on the deal, 1 point. That's likely low, but let's just call it 1 point. And you're working on a $750,000 loan. It's $7,500 in your pocket. I want us to check our egos at the door for a minute and say, did I earn that? What did I do to strategize this client's financial position on this house? What do I know about their 1 year and their 5-year vision? And I'll give you an example. I was talking to a borrower the other day that's shopping one of our loan officers, and he didn't plan on shopping. He'd been working with our loan officer for over 2 years. They have been running scenarios, talking through things, looking at a lot of things, and the borrower gets into contract. And it just so happens that it's spring break and loan officer is out. And so things are a little intermittent, but the disclosures come over. And lo and behold, they are pending on their home to sell, which means the other mortgage company, I won't name names, got a trigger lead, if you will, because they saw a payoff request come over. And they happen to live in the same town as the borrower and know where they work and everything. So they went down to their work. The loan officer went down to their work and said, I don't want to compete. Finally, the borrower caves and says, all right, tell me what you can do. So now we're in a competition, right? Here's all of my disclosures that are from the current lender, and that lender takes it. And what do we all know happens? They undercut, right? I mean, anybody who can see cards on a poker table up front knows how to play a game more strategically at that moment. They undercut. And so immediately our loan officer starts to jump to, I'll match, maybe I can beat it. Let me look at it. And we're in a price war. So I grab hold of it. And you guys, these are skills that I am so grateful that I was taught and am reminded of constantly. And I want to give these to you because I think it's one of the biggest frustrations. And we like to point the finger at a lot of things and give away our power instead of hold on to our power and say, I actually know I can control this a little bit better. There's not a guarantee of the ending, but I for sure can play the best game that I can play in the process. And when I say game, I do not mean manipulation. I think it's important to point that out. You jump in, and as I jumped into this, I recognized, hey, it is down and dirty. They didn't just go lower, they got really low. And we all know that really rates are consistent and static for everyone. There's not huge variation between any lender. So anytime you see something that's blowing someone out of the water, if we immediately go to price versus details, right? Pause right there. Let's call and actually dig in. It turns out the other lender hasn't pulled credit. There's LLPAs on this one. So if you're in lending, you'll know what that means. Price hits. We could drive some more income, get debt to income ratio down. We can also pay off a couple debts to get that MI and the overall expense of the loan cheaper. Property taxes weren't exactly right in the system. There are some things in this file that instantly start to play to it. And even better yet, I actually end up getting on the phone with the client and talking to them in more detail. The loan officer had quite a bit of it, in more detail about the future. Really digging in. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. Well, it turns out that the client actually wants to do some expansion of the property. They'll have income that will come in eventually. And they literally they need to buy a tractor because they're buying land. They need to buy a tractor and they are planning in their head to buy it in cash and all these things. Borrower's commission income, so lots of highs and lows there, but overall highs, very good sales in what he does. I look it up. Sure enough, there's still 0% for 12 months, 24 months with the right credit score, 0% financing on a tractor where you could pay it but not have that money out of pocket while they're making other things. I end up talking through the borrower, paying off debt strategy here, not doing the 2-1 buy down, looking at how to use the seller credit. My point with all of it is that you have to be willing to differentiate yourself in strategy that then steers somebody away from price, not so that you can take advantage of them from an interest rate perspective. The truth is, we're going to give him a better setup in general that remains competitive, but doesn't give away value across the board. And so if you're uncomfortable with this, if you're uncomfortable with budgeting with borrowers, if you're uncomfortable with digging into more details, if you're unsure where to go with things in terms of what questions to ask, how to really approach, what happens when they all of a sudden get a random fee sheet, and this borrower didn't even know, I messaged him, I said, hey, did this other lender pull credit? No. When another lender hasn't pulled credit, that is an inaccurate rate quote, period, end of story. And we all know it. But if we immediately react and start thinking, oh gosh, all I need to do is beat it to keep the client, we just gave away every ounce of what we believe our own value is, and we haven't shown it to the client. So the client all of a sudden thinks, hey, the name of the game in lending is just getting a bunch of price quotes and seeing who can be cheapest. And man, what a tragedy for that client. In addition to that loan officer that did all that work for a couple years, in addition to the disruption to the sellers and the real estate agents, there is so much to it. And so pause for a minute, think about how often you get shopped, think about your process, and then think about the details that you play into your process. Do you work off of a checklist? Do you have a routine of how you dig in? Do you have different tools in your tool belt for a first-time home buyer, a move-up buyer, an investor, move-down buyer, non-QM, whatever that may be? Do you know your product well? Do you understand how to get strategic? I will tell you what, this industry is only going to get more focused on price and on tech, trying to make things easier. What that will also do is deteriorate commissions in general. And I believe wholeheartedly that loan officers that do the right job, do the work, and have developed their skills at the level they need to are worth every dollar in value to their clients and to their referral partners. Dropping that price is not going to serve anybody, but dropping more value certainly is. So take a look at everything that you're doing. Shoot me a message. I'll share a lot of the things that we've got going on and that I can share with you that you could add into the process. But this is not an industry where you can compete. There will always be a way to get it done faster and cheaper. So if those are two races that you can't win, it's like being a long distance runner, but trying to win a 100-yard sprint. If you're not a sprinter, you're a long distance runner, then man alive, do you have to get some strategy in how you win that long distance run. And that's what's going to be important for every single one of us. And it's going to be important for the industry. This episode was helpful. I hope you share it. We'll see you soon.